Pool cleaning has a new hero, Aiper and the award-winning Aiper Scuba S1 Pro. They're on a mission to eliminate pool maintenance and transform your swimming pool into a backyard paradise. Designed for the toughest cleaning jobs, the Aiper Scuba S1 Pro is your complete premium cleaning package. A dual-layer filtration system works in tandem with quad brushless motors to dedicate more power to scrubbing and suction, and can pick up and store debris as small as 3 microns. So the question isn't whether the Scuba S1 Pro is for you, but really, what will you do with all the extra time saved by not having to clean your pool? For more information, visit Aiper.com.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Pool Magazine Podcast. Today I'm chatting with Tieleman of Tieleman Technologies, a leading manufacturer of movable pool floor systems. It's a pleasure to have you with us today on the show.
Well, thank you very much.
I thought a good starting point for today's discussion would be if you gave us a little bit of bio about Tieleman Technologies and how your firm first got started in the movable pool floor space to begin with.
Right. So we started in 1970, originally starting as a family company. Hydrotherapy was where the market really started for us. There was a lot of questions in especially Holland at the time about getting hydrotherapy more situated and it was a growing market at the time. Not a lot was known. There was a lot of people that were having disabilities that needed movement, and they were trying to figure out what would be the best way of getting these clients and everybody, moving without having too much weight being put down on them. So how it started was really that there was a demand for movable floors, different heights, definitely not big projects. We're talking about really small projects, water treatment coming along with it, trying to put together the whole package. So in the 70s, Associate started with that together with eventually my uncle joining the company, and that they kind of went into the market, got a lot of demands. It was all over the place, of course, in the beginning, but then they eventually started getting down to the fact that a movable floor should be not too big, not too limited to the patient group, and eventually started engineering the movable floors. And back then it was really a lot different than what you see today. It was all pretty much a guessing game. There was a lot of trial and error in it. So anything has been tried really. And they slowly really started getting into the market of hydrotherapy. And from that point out, it just started growing and growing because the demand and it was catching on. Other hospitals were starting to see that there was a lot of potential for the product, and there was a lot of positive feedback on it. So from there on out, the company really started getting more involved in hydrotherapy, also the water treatment, also electrolysis systems, so on, because back in the 70s, there wasn't a lot of this available at all. So there was a lot of research and development in it. Fast forwarded to the point that my cousin and I took over the company, Vincent also. We took over the company around 8 to 10 years ago. There was a learning curve there. We saw that the hydrotherapy market that we were in as a company was national, wasn't international, it was national. That there wasn't a whole lot of expansion or growth possibilities. So we really started looking around us and eventually ended up in the fact that the movable floors with some adjusting and some re-engineering could be applied to private houses, private spaces. And that's when we got into the domestic market and the private market and everything that comes with it. So that's basically the start of the company. I wasn't there in the 70s, of course, but that's where it started, and it eventually grew out to be the business that we have today, and a lot of international projects going. The company's growing as we speak, definitely taking on bigger and bigger projects, bigger challenges, and that's basically what Tieleman is known for in our customer base, is that there's no challenge too great, or really that the engineering that we do does have a lot of research and development also to it. So that's where we're at now.
So it sounds like it started off as an accessibility product for the medical industry. And you said, like, fast forward 30, 40 years, you guys began to evolve into a product suitable for residential pool applications. When was that light bulb moment that you guys should get into the pool space?
I think 8 years ago, we noticed that in the market that we still have clients from all the way back to the beginning. It was just that the medical quality that we're building, also the reliability of it, We just converted that into the private market. And we didn't really know if there was a market for it to begin with. It was a bit of a guess. In Europe, we went to some trade shows, actually exhibited there ourselves, and really ran into a lot of people that came up to us with inquiries about just any project you can think of. From there on out, it really grew. It was really an opportunity we grabbed onto with both hands, and yeah, we just applied anything we could with the knowledge we already had and expanded it from there.
Sure, I can imagine there was a lot of interest. I mean, when we talk about manufacturers in the pool and spa industry, if we're talking about normal equipment like pumps and heaters and filters, then there are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of companies in that space. However, when we discuss movable pool floor systems, there's a short list of maybe three major players in your space. I mean, what differentiates your product from that of your competitors?
The biggest changes we probably have compared to other companies is, well, one is quality. We do provide drawings. We provide everything in 3D. There's a lot of engineering and a lot of calculations behind it to where you really understand that it's a really professional, thought through product. It's engineered to, well, we're striving to be perfect in it. And the biggest differences, I think, is that we have water hydraulics, also the measurements that we use against how big the gaps can be to where the tiling goes over and from the regular pool actually to the movable floor. It's everything is 316 stainless steel, so it's a very high grade of quality stainless steel we're using. The steps and the way of entry of pool, inclination of movable floors, combining them with acrylic, just that those are the biggest differences we know of that are in the market currently.
What are some of the main challenges that you guys faced transposing what you built for the medical industry to be suitable for the pool and spa industry?
I think communication with the pool builder. It was difficult for us to convert to doing a private project. So the biggest changes we had was also we had to put tiling on the floors. The lead up to the project, which was really focused on the pool. Normally in a more public project, there's a lot bigger building group and everything around it. It's not just about the pool. And if you go into private projects, there's a lot focused on the pool. It's like the main character of the project. The biggest challenges we ran into in the beginning were just trying to get to frame to where it would be stiff enough. Also, the pressures we're working with, because it's water hydraulics. Also, to how far do we go to finish up our product, the testing, to integrate it, to finishing up a project, and where we leave it for the pool builder to continue the project. There was a learning curve in that. And I think that was the biggest change. We had to re-engineer the frame, the stiffness, the way we approach maintenance. That was definitely a big difference for us.
Well, we're always posting the latest pool trends, designs, and hot new products to hit the market. And we recently shared a few of your videos of your movable pool floor system in action and received a tremendous response on social media. Two videos that we posted went viral. One on Instagram got viewed 3.5 million times, and another that we posted to TikTok was viewed over 14 million times. To say people were interested in how your unique floor system operates would be a bit of an understatement. I definitely promised our viewers that if I had the opportunity to get you on the show, I'd ask you some of the most frequent questions folks had about the product and how it works. Now, the number one question that viewers had was, how does it work? I was hoping that you can give us an explanation. How does the mechanism itself work? And what are its key components?
Okay, yeah, I can answer that. It's fairly common once you understand the movement of it. So it's a frame itself. It's all made out of 316 stainless steel. These are beams. They're carrying the load for the tiles that we're putting on top of them. There's a hydraulic system in the frame. Hydraulic can be, oil, or they can be water. We use water hydraulics. We never use oil hydraulics. It's all integrated in the frame, meaning that if there needs to be maintenance or anything, you can access it from the top. And the easiest way to explain how it works is just it's a floating floor. So it has buoyancy. There's no electronics, there's no gears or anything mechanically moving it down. We made it to where it's a floating floor, so it has a lot of buoyancy under it. It doesn't move when you walk across it. So when it's in the top right position, you can just walk across it, use it whichever way you want to use it. Then you just go over to the controls. There's a touchscreen there. You automatically put in a depth. And what happens is the pump in the technical room will turn on, will fill the cylinder with water, and will actually pull the floor down. And there's stainless steel cables that go to the bottom of the floor. And we actually pull it all the way down to where it has a desired depth. And then we get from a depth indication, we stop the floor at the desired depth, and then that's basically it.
Yeah, it's essentially a floor that becomes a pool cover, right?
Yeah, a lot of questions we get from it is where does the water stay or anything like that. If eventually, the easiest way to say it, it's like a simple pool cover. The water's always underneath it. And once we move the floor, there's a lot of force that comes with it, of course, but it's only the small gaps that you see on the sides of the floor that let allow the water through, and that's also how you see the steps slowly appear. Is there's not a lot of mechanics in it, so there's a lot of framework, and the simpler you keep the design, the engineering behind how do you move the product, the more reliant and the better it off it is.
Well, one of the things that we wrote about last year was how people are using these movable pool floor systems to create dual purpose spaces in their backyard. So I was hoping that you could talk about that a little bit.
Well, yeah, that is one of the reasons for a lot of people to pick a movable floor. If you have limited space and you do want to be able to exercise, let's say in a small pool or a city pool or anything like that, if you have the movable floor, it will come up to a top right position. It will be level. It'll be nearly seamless with the surroundings of it. And pretty much you have 220 pounds per 10 square feet. So as far as you can put weight on it. And really what you do is you can make it compact, you can make it really large depending on the size you have. But in smaller spaces, it's something you can just put furniture on. You can be very mobile. But a lot of people do use it as an excessive space, also for safety. If you have a small space and you have kids, you want to make sure that they don't drown in the pool or anything like that, that those dangers don't even exist. So in the upright position, if you have a small space, something like that could happen real easily. And that's why they pick for a movable floor to choose them for being able to have that double functionality in it.
Well, you innuated to this a minute ago, but I'm sure one of the biggest questions that you get is how long does it take to raise and lower the floor?
Right. Yeah, it depends on how deep the floor needs to go, of course. But a regular, normal, movable floor that we built would be, I would say, in between 4 and 5 minutes. And that sounds long, but what you really do is you walk up to the touchscreen, put in the depth of whichever desired depth you have. And if 9 out of 10 times you go all the way down to the floor, all the way to the bottom, they use the maximum depth. Regularly, it would take around 4 to 5 minutes, but it will automatically move down to whichever depth you want it to be.
So you can set it to different depths. So like if you want it to be like a wading pool or just like a water feature in your backyard, you could set it to that depth instead of setting it all the way down to a swimming pool.
Yeah, you can set it to any depth you wish, really. What a lot of people do at night, if they have a party at the house or anything and they don't want to go swimming, but they do want to have, the water feature there, they lower the pool a little bit, have lights at the top position, so where it becomes a illuminated pool, and it gives it a really nice touch to the backyard. Also, if you want to have kids swimming, kids pool party or anything, you just lower it a couple of feet instead of going all the way down. And if you want to have usage of it for just any regular adult swimming or anything, you can just drop it all the way in and then just use it as a regular swimming pool.
What depths can you do with the system?
Endless, really. Depending on how we drive the movable floor, we've actually built a couple of diving pits that go all the way up to 50, 60 feet for commercial diver training. Can't use the same cylinder we normally do, of course. It has a little different pulley system on it. But basically, there's no limitations really. What a regular pool, regular depths, they vary a lot. I mean, there's no real depth that we're set on that we need to make for somebody. The deeper we go, the more adjustments we make in the hydraulic system itself, not in the frame, but in the hydraulics. And that's where we can change the depths to anything we wish.
Another great question that folks had again and again, where does the water go when not in use and how does it stay clean?
Right. What we do is we talk to the pool builder. We're not the ones doing the water treatment, but what we do before we ever start a project is we advise the pool builders where to give the feed throughs in the walls or anything for the water treatment to come through. There's different depths that we would say to a pool builder to actually put feed throughs in to supply fresh water for the pool, meaning that if the floor is down to a certain depth, there's still fresh water going through. And if it's not, and it's in the top position, we would just let the water run through like you would do with a regular pool. The biggest thing that changes that, which come with the positive side of that, is that it doesn't lose or evaporate anything of the water. So the water's underneath it. It's being run like a regular pool would be. And the only thing that's better for it, there's no sunlight actually getting to the water, which will help against UV, against algae. And as long as there's movement and there's good water treatment behind it, also with chlorine or with salt, whichever you want to use, that means there's no dead zones and there's going to be no issues with anything underneath that's happening on the floor.
People on both platforms, TikTok and Instagram, they had fun guessing how much a movable pool floor system like this one costs. Guesses ranged from a couple $100,000 to a couple million. So if I wanted to build an average sized swimming pool with a Tieleman system in it, how much would the pool floor, just the pool floor, set me back?
It would be really depending on how many options you wish to do in there. But if you have some stairs and you have some odd shapes to it, because we're free in whichever design you want to use, also with shaping or anything, I would guess in between 150 to, yeah, endless, really. But it starts around 150K. That's around where you start off with a movable floor.
Another great question that folks asked again and again was how easy is it to maintain and how do you make repairs when needed?
Well, that's a good question because I could see how a lot of people would actually think it's got a lot of movable parts underneath it. The nice thing about our system is because it's actually been updated from a medical point of view that we use it in hospitals and everything where it gets used, let's say about 10 times a day, they move the floor. Downtime on a public pool or on a therapy pool is not acceptable. So it needs to be able to run every day because it's a very logistical nightmare to get somebody to the pool. What we do for maintenance is actually there's very minimal movable parts underneath it. And what is underneath it, and that does move, has been engineered to be chlorine resistant. We also use products that are not really common in any market. So that means they're chlorine resistant, salt resistant products that are in there. Maintenance, I would say we do it once a year, which would be regular. What we do is we open a hatch at the top, or we take one of the steps out and we let a diver go underneath while the floor is in top position. If desired by the client, we can do a cleaning of the basin of the floor. And what we normally really do is just check all the controls, have visual inspection of all the wearable parts, which would be cables and wheels. And if desired, after several years, let's say 5 to 10 years, and you have to exchange some parts, that would be the time to do it. And then we would send you a report, give you a good insight with footage with it of what the problems or issues could be down the road of maintenance. Then the year after that, we come back in and we combine it with the regular maintenance we would do to exchange some parts. And the whole floor has been engineered to be operated or worked on from underneath the water. So everything has been engineered to be upside down. So you don't need to open anything from the top. Anything can be done from underneath the water, easily accessible. And there's no parts underneath there that are really difficult to get to. So you don't need to take a lot of time to exchange certain parts to it.
You touched briefly on options before, but how customizable are the movable pool floors for residential applications?
Well, we just did a project in the Bahamas that pretty much challenged us to use every option we could get to. And that was a challenge, but there really isn't an end to it as far as movement goes, as far as safety goes, and as far as the quality needs to be there. The regular things we run into is entry to a pool. We've actually constructed pools that have entry all through the width of the pool, so you slowly see the steps come out and then you can still incline the movable floor. We've done stuff like that. We've also made locking systems to where there's even more carry load on the floor. If it's desired to go extra with not accepting just the buoyancy, but you want to have extra safety in there for as far as that you can put a lot more weight on it. The swim out benches, beach entry, sun decks that we've built. movable jacuzzis, bar stools that come up out of the floor that are connected to the side of the walls and everything, or connected to the movable floor that you can really use a bar that's also inside the pool. It's pretty endless. It goes pretty far. What we did in the Bahamas, we actually had two movable floors in one pool. There was one that was going really deep. I think it was up to 7 feet, 8 feet. And then there was one that was going even deeper than that. So that means there's going to be difficulties with entrapment. So you also have staircases that come out of the sides of the wall. You actually that you can have the entry to the pool. And then each floor needs to have its separate system driving it. But you also want to be able to move it all together. There's a swim out benches on both sides of the pool. And the biggest challenge we really ran into was ensuring that once everything is coming up to the top position, it all looks seamless. And of course, you want everything, the tiles, the lining of the tiles and everything, you want that to be in line so you can barely see there's a movable floor there. And once it goes down and you only want to use, let's say, the deep part, then the staircases on the side of the pool, they appear, but then the floor goes a lot deeper beyond that to the depth that it needs to be. But you still want to be able to ensure that there's no access to any entrapment issues. So you want to keep those gaps as small as possible. So the gaps we use on those floors is 0.3 to 3.1 to 0.39 inch. And the biggest issue we ran into with that project, or challenge, I would say, was everything had to work, but there couldn't be any openings. So we also had to tile the sides of the swimming benches. We had to tile the sides of the stairs. We had to tile walls that are in between to where you can't go underneath one floor if you've got the other floor in the deepest position. So there was a lot of engineering and a lot of options in there, and also a lot of things that you wouldn't think of to start off with if you would see a movable floor like that moving.
I know the response in Europe has been incredible, but what has the reception been like in the US marketplace? What's the feedback been like from the US builders that have been seeing this product?
It's slowly starting to get to a point where they're interested. I think the biggest thing they're running into is just the knowledge. What drives it? What makes it work? What do I need to think of integrating into a project? We've been reached out from several very big pool builders, very, very acknowledged people. They're slowly catching on. These projects are, at least they're going to take at least 9 out of 10 times they take a year to get underway before from signing all the way up to the part that you're actually having the pool built and you're finishing up the product. I think a lot of pool builders are trying to wrap their mind around what the whole scope of the project would be. I think that's the biggest challenge for us, is trying to explain it to them that it's actually fairly easy as far as the information and everything you need. We would provide that. And also that once the movable floor is getting built in or put in, we have our own installation team doing all the work. We're taking care of, let's say, 99% of what needs to be done, except for the handling of the crane or the local stuff that needs to be arranged. We always leave that to local contractors or anything like that. But that's they're slowly catching on. They're reaching out to us. We're having conversations in the background. Eventually, that will show all the hard work we've put in, and I'm sure that there's going to be projects underway. I'm guessing next year in 25 there will be several projects we're going to be installing in the United States.
It's really an innovative product. I mean, it obviously pushes the envelope on any kind of residential backyard pool project. All right. Thank you so much for stopping by to chat with us today. Really enjoyed our discussion and getting the opportunity to learn more about your company's product.
Well, thank you very much for allowing us to share our information, and I'm very thankful for having this opportunity.
Well, that's all the time we have left today. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, and we'll catch you next time on another episode of Pool Magazine Podcast.
Pool cleaning has a new hero, Aiper and the award-winning Aiper Scuba S1 Pro. They're on a mission to eliminate pool maintenance and transform your swimming pool into a backyard paradise. Designed for the toughest cleaning jobs, the Aiper Scuba S1 Pro is your complete premium cleaning package. A dual-layer filtration system works in tandem with quad brushless motors to dedicate more power to scrubbing and suction, and can pick up and store debris as small as 3 microns. So the question isn't whether the Scuba S1 Pro is for you, but really, what will you do with all the extra time saved by not having to clean your pool? For more information, visit Aiper.com.